The story begins at the royal palace. On the 17th prince, Heal, turned 15 years old. This is the age when people are officially considered adults. To celebrate this day, the king gave Heal a private land. However, Heal was not at all excited about this gift, as it was a land of chaos that he had to restore on his own. Heal was taken to the new land by boat. When he arrived, he was extremely disappointed. This place is just a cluster of coral reefs, called Sheol Reef, 15 days away from the capital. This land is so remote that even pirates don't bother to visit it. After bringing Heal close to the island, the escort group immediately left, without checking to see if he was safely ashore or not. In any case, this land has now become Heal's responsibility. This is the territory of the 17th prince of the kingdom of Sanfalez. His brothers mocked him because Heal was assigned to this place. They knew he wasn't good at using his powers. What disappointed Heal the most was that he didn't even have a real badge. Crests were something everyone was born with, and Heal's brothers all possessed great badges that conferred powerful powers. Heal's coat of arms is different. No one knows what its actual use is. He tried many ways to activate the badge, but nothing happened, only making his family more embarrassed. Before that, Heal had begged his father to send a representative with him, but the king was too proud of his decision to change it just because of Heal's plea. Heal realized he had actually been exiled to an unknown, uninhabited rock. He even thought it might be better to be executed, but he didn't want to die. Seeing a group of smaller rocks nearby, Heal decided to try to dock there, avoiding crashing the boat into the rocks. He used wind magic, but his power was so weak that he couldn't even make a feather fly. So somehow Heal landed roughly.
He took provisions from the boat and decided to store them in a safe place.
He saw a cave in the distance. Heal brought supplies into the cave, but the scene before him terrified him. Dozens of human skeletons were scattered about, apparently people who had drifted to the island but didn't survive. Even though he was scared, he had no other choice but to accept this harsh reality. Heal continued to put supplies inside, then looked out to sea with despairing eyes. The scenery was beautiful, far away from the intrigues of the capital, but he only wished his situation was different. He slapped himself in the face to wake up and determined to live at all costs. Heal thought about the next step, first finding a way to send a signal so that a certain ship could see and save him, avoiding the kingdom's own ships. However, the chances are very slim, because no one passes by this reef. In addition, he also faced many other survival problems. Food and water were only enough for a month. Heal knew he couldn't rely on magic, so he thought he had to collect rainwater and catch fish to survive. The first thing is to clear the cave and bury the scattered skeletons, because they are too scary. Heal took out his pickaxe to start digging, but at that moment, a voice rang in his head, informing him that he had received a mining tool. Heal wondered what that voice was, and then heard it again. This time, he asked who the voice belonged to. As it turns out, the voice belongs to his badge, King of the Cave, with the ability to advise and communicate with its owner. This was the day Heal discovered his badge as King of the Cave. He wondered why it was only activating now, and realized it was probably because he had never been into a cave or mineral mine before. The badge explains that it will enhance his mining skills and assist him in upgrading in the cave. Heal was inundated with information, but decided to test the exploit. The badge began to take effect, illuminating the sparkling spots in the cave. These white lights indicate the best places to mine, carefully calculated to avoid collapse or damage. Heal tapped a bright spot right in front of him. A strong smash surprised him with the high mining efficiency, thanks to the badge. With the ability to see at night, Heal continued mining without difficulty. Heal decided to start by creating an area for sleeping. He persisted in mining for a while longer, with great determination. Gradually, Heal began to feel interested in mining. As he dug deeper into the cave, Heal found his mining speed and power increasing. His skills improved thanks to leveling up. The consulting badge asked if he wanted to reclaim the 168 mined stones. Heal wonders where the stones will be stored, and the heraldry explains that they will be stored within it. He continued digging, but gradually realized that the rocks around him were starting to hinder his mining. Heal decided to reclaim the stones, storing them in storage like in the game Minecraft. The badge later added an auto-revoke feature to assist him. Realizing that his mining speed was impressive, Heal thought he could dig through to the other side of the cave, so he decided to start digging down. Sometime later, the badge announced that he had reached a depth of 10 meters. From his starting position, Hyle still did not fully understand the concept of meters, but he decided to rest and check his inventory. The badge announced that he had reached a depth of 10 meters. From his starting position, Hyle still did not fully understand the concept of meters. Heel was amazed to see that he had collected copper, tin, and even gold ore after mining. Although I thought that gold might not be very useful on a deserted island, one stone in particular caught his attention, the magic stone. Heel does not yet know how to use it, but the badge provides information that this stone can enhance magical power, and the larger the stone, the higher the power. The next stone that made Heel curious was the turtle stone, capable of extending a person's lifespan by 1 day. This discovery amazed Hyle, and he felt grateful for possessing such a magical badge. Negative thoughts about Shell Reef are now transformed into the realization that this territory is truly special. Heel was so engrossed in mining that he forgot to watch the boat to find a way out. Before long, he had dug about 30 meters deep into the cave and collected countless rocks and ores in his inventory. Among them, the stones that made him most curious were still magic stones and turtle stones. Heel thought it would be great if he could use high-level magic, and with that in mind, he used all 90 magic stones. After using 90 stones, Hale was surprised to not feel a difference, so he decided to test it directly. He used wind magic to clear the dug path. This time, the wind filled the entire cave. Sweep away all the debris, bones, stones, and everything in its path. Blow them out of the cave. Heel was somewhat stunned when he realized this was his power, and couldn't believe just 90 magic stones had enhanced him to this extent. Then, a slime attracted by Heel's magic approached him. This slime showed no hostility. It seemed to really like Heel. He was curious as to what it was, and after 3 days of living here, Heel accepted its presence. Every day, he started by checking tools and food to prepare for the usual mining work. Heel decided to befriend the slime and named it Shell. This happened when the badge said that he could tame slimes, and taming monsters will make them follow you. However, taming only applies to non-hostile monsters, and in the Old Kingdom, creatures like slimes were often looked down upon. But in this cave, no one judges you, so Heel tamed the slime and named it Shell. He was happy to have another living creature beside him, and thought that Shell did not understand him. But surprisingly, Shell could understand him a little, and began helping Heel in his mining activities, becoming his effective assistant. With Heel, Shell is really smart. Now, he can reach places that were previously impossible. He began using gestures to guide the shell into creating the shape he desired, helping the mining progress 3 times faster than before. Thanks to this advancement, Heel consumed 500 magic stones from his inventory. And with his enhanced magic, he no longer worried about food. At night, Shell even turns into a pillow for Heel, posing however he wants. While mining, Heel discovered about 10 other slimes, and communicating with them was quite easy. But Shell was still the most special. Heel finds this acceptable, as long as they do not hinder mining. That night, he fell asleep with excitement about what he would exploit the next day. The next morning, Shell woke up Heel by jumping around, trying to point in a certain direction. Curious about Shell's strange behavior, Hyle followed its gaze and discovered someone walking towards the island. Heel rushed over, only to see 3 goblins drifting towards his island. It seemed that their boat had hit the reef and broke apart. Heel was hesitant at first because goblins are often dangerous to humans, and most people kill goblins on sight. But Shell wanted Heel to help them, and Heel himself couldn't bear to leave them to die here. He decided to use healing magic on them and take them to a safe place. After taking the 3 goblins to the shelter and ensuring their lives were no longer in danger, Hyle quickly returned to the cave. He told Shell to notify them if there were any changes in their condition, and to watch over them for him. Heel knew that if he was careless with the goblins, they could attack him at any time. However, thanks to his enhanced magical power, Heel feels able to defend himself if necessary. Although he was still a little worried, he decided to calm down and continue mining. Mining gradually became a joy for Heel, made him forget all his worries. A moment later, Heel checked his inventory. Therefore, he decided to continue mining. A moment later, Shell signaled to Heel that the goblins had woken up. Hyle came to check, but when he heard them talking, he hid for safety. He decided to secretly listen to their conversation. Meanwhile, a goblin seemed to be examining Heel's food, while 2 other goblins tried to stop him. The goblin leader, El, sensed Hyle's presence, and immediately became alert, raising his weapon. The Goblin Princess Ri convinces Elle to put down her weapons, as Heal was the one who saved them. However, Elle could not follow suit because he still considered Heal a danger to them. Heal was surprised to discover that the goblins spoke the same language as him, which could mean they were from the same continent. He said he had no intention of harming them, but Elle was not easily persuaded by words alone. Vari spoke up, suspecting that Heal was up to something because his expression looked quite suspicious. Heal was confused by those comments. At that moment, Shell turned into a mirror, and when Heal looked in, he was surprised to see his fearful face. "You look really dangerous," and realized I was gradually becoming a different person due to overexploitation every day. Heil corrected his expression and told the goblins that they could eat his food, as he could easily get more. To demonstrate, he used wind magic to catch fish right in front of them. Elle was amazed by Heal's strength and asked why, if he was so strong, he didn't kill them in the first place. The Goblin Princess Ri tried to explain to Elle, but she suddenly collapsed. Everyone is worried about Ri, and Heal asked if she had been treated. The old goblin, Vari, explained that she had not been cured. In reality, Ri was under a life-shortening curse. The group fell into despair, crying because they believed that their princess was at her last moments. Seeing the worst situation, Heal stopped Vari and Elle from sacrificing themselves along with Ri. He said he could cure her, but Elle got angry, insisting that they had tried everything to no avail. However, Heal decided to use the Misogi stone he found earlier to remove the curse. Because Ri's lifespan has been shortened, Heal used 79 turtle stones to restore her. The goblins were surprised, not understanding where Heal got these rare stones. But the most important thing is that Ri has revived and feels better than ever. Ri was confused, not understanding what happened, because she thought she was dead. Elle realized that Heal was not a bad person, and when he saw that he was the one who saved their princess, Elle knelt down on the ground and sincerely apologized to Heal. Sitting down together, Heil invited the goblins to eat and introduced himself. He was also surprised by Elle's strength, recalling how Elle had broken through the stone floor with a single headbutt, proving that goblins were truly formidable. Sitting down together, Heil invited the goblins to eat and introduced himself. He was also surprised by Elle's strength, recalling how Elle had broken through the stone floor with a single headbutt, proving that goblins were truly formidable. After introducing himself, Heal shared that he was a prince from the kingdom of Saint-Philès. Elle thought that Heal must be able to use every type of powerful magic ever seen since he was a prince. However, Heal refused, and explained that his power came from the magical stones he had mined. Vari asks why they came to this island. Elle tells the story of their homeland, which was ravaged by orcs. But during the journey, their boat had an accident. Now they don't even know if the remaining members are safe or not. Princess Ruti comforts Vari, telling him that he need not blame himself, because even if they had stayed on the mainland, their fates might not have been much different. Ri thanks Heal for helping creatures like them. Heal replied that it was just a small thing, even though he felt pain in his heart when he heard about their difficulties. Ri sighed, saying that she probably wouldn't live much longer, but she was grateful that the pain in her chest was gone, allowing her to die in peace. Heal encouraged her not to give up too soon, and revealed that there are still many turtle rocks deep in the ground. He mentioned that if they used them, they could extend her life for as long as they wanted. Heal assured them that if he continued mining for a week, he could find enough turtle stones to keep her alive for at least another year. Elle felt this was too much to ask of Heal, so he offered to help him exploit it. However, Heal smiled and said there was no need to worry. Elle and Ri sincerely thanked Heal for saving her life. Ri asked why he was willing to give her such a precious thing, and Heal just laughed, telling her not to worry, because for him, mining was just fun. Furthermore, he was happy to have a companion by his side. Hearing that, Ri was touched, filled with hope that she could continue to live. The Ri thing feels completely natural to anyone saved from death. Heal reassured her that it was no big deal, and began to think about what to do next. He had enough stone picks, but still considered the areas that needed mining. His badge announced that he could share a portion of his power with tame monsters. Heal asked them if they wanted to become his tame monsters, and explained that it would make it easier for them to mine together. He emphasized that the decision was theirs. No matter what, he would still give them turtle stones. Touched by Heal's kindness, they agreed to join his party as tame monsters. Ri also agreed, feeling the need to help others instead of just sitting idly by while everyone worked for her. She wanted to repay Heel for saving her life. Heel then began to think of new names for them. He named Elven Varito Varys, and that Rhys was given the new name Rhianna. They were delighted with the new name and promised to be devoted to him from now on. Then Heel took the glowing stone and used it to create torches for the goblins, since they can't see in the dark like you can. Heel explains how to recognize glowing spots in caves. These are the best places to mine. He then demonstrated how to exploit it by hitting the wall in front of him, causing it to completely shatter. He reassured them that they would be able to exploit the same, while also emphasizing that he was not that strong at first. The next problem is collecting stone and ore, since the others do not have self-healing skills. 8. Hyle tasks Shell with teaching other slimes how to effectively collect rocks and ores. He believed that practice would make them proficient, and from there people started mining together. With their cooperation, the cave became busier than ever, bringing a new source of energy from that day on. While mining, Heel recalls a painful memory from the past when he was bullied for being weak. At that time, he tried to protect a monster that was tied up and abused by bullies. The necklace around his neck reminded him of that event, bringing up painful memories. Elven noticed something was wrong and asked Heel if he was tired after mining continuously. Rhianna also worriedly asked if he was okay. Hearing Rhianna speak, Heel reassured her that he was just thinking for a moment and emphasized that thanks to his Dungeon King badge, he couldn't get tired. Rhianna gently advised him not to overwork and pay attention to his health. Aya reassured Rhianna, saying he wouldn't push himself too hard. At that moment, he smelled a delicious smell. It was the smell of the apple pie that Rhianna had made for everyone. The whole group was excited because there was a new dish to enjoy. It's been 3 days since Heel met the goblins, and in that short time, they've created new amenities such as bathing areas, water tanks, and a simple kitchen. Thanks to that, Heel can enjoy Rhianna's food. Everything she made was delicious, making him extremely satisfied. Rhianna was also happy to see that she could make good use of the ingredients Hale brought from her homeland. Elven realized that mining turned out to be very interesting, and Varys agreed. They happily worked to prolong their princess's life, and Rhianna thanked them for it. The group's situation improves day by day, but there is still much work to be done. Heel found they still lacked many essential resources, especially a more diverse food source other than fish, and their clothes were gradually wearing out. He didn't have much hope in stopping a ship and exchanging gems for supplies, but the biggest difference he felt was that he began to think and worry like a true lord. Heel decided to continue mining deeper, hoping to find more turtle stone for Rhianna, and possibly discover new types of stone. While mining, he encountered a gap and decided to explore. Inside, Heel found strange stones as bright orange as the sunset. The soil in this area is also different. This made him curious. When Heel looked up, he was startled to be faced with a giant spider. At first he did not dare to move, staring into the spider's eyes, afraid that he might become its meal. He quickly prepared a spell to defend himself, but suddenly the spider ran away. Looking closer, Heel realized the spider just wanted to protect its young. Understanding the situation, he felt sorry for scaring the spider. A moment later, his badge announced that these were monsters that could be tamed. Meanwhile, Elven is waiting for Heel to return. He was surprised to see Wild return with a group of giant spiders following. Heel smiled, apologized for startling Elven, and explained that he had just convinced the spiders in the cave to join their group. Varys was amazed at their enormous size, as regular spiders were only about his size. Varys said that the silk of these spiders is stronger than iron, and their fangs contain extremely powerful venom. They're famous for being dangerous, even eating monsters and humans. Varys also revealed that the soil at the end of the cave is actually their waste. However, he brings good news. Soil from cave spiders can be used for farming, making growing crops easier. Varys then asked if they could farm anywhere in this cave. Hyle smiled and said he had something to show them. He led them to a tunnel and told them to look inside. When they looked in, they were surprised to see a long staircase leading down, and asked Heel where this staircase came from. Heel explains that he created the stairs when he returned with Taran, the giant spider. Because the passage was too narrow for Taran, Heel expanded the area and built stairs using his new power as Dungeon King. Now, Heel can shape the cave area to his liking, handling and synthesizing warehouse items, and utilizes many new features such as granting night vision to tame monsters. and utilizes many new features such as granting night vision to tame monsters. Meanwhile, Elvan and Varys continued making stone picks, and Heal assisted them with the more complicated parts they didn't know how to do. He believed that creating tools from iron at this place was a great step forward. Rhianna was tasked with weaving clothes from spider silk. Heal also assigned everyone to collect spider waste in one place, and through it, he discovered something surprising about Terran. Its speed was faster than anything he had ever seen. Heal then used the spider's waste to grow an apple seed, and it grows into a tree in just a few moments. He was amazed at this rapid growth and understood why Terran was so huge. However, Hyle realized that the tree's rapid growth was due not only to the waste, but also to the sunstones he found in the cave. Since these stones could not be found anywhere else, he decided he needed to use them carefully. Heal entrusted Rhianna with managing the sunstones and planning the farming. Although Rhianna was a bit nervous about this responsibility, Heal believed in her and reassured her that she could do well. Rhianna promises not to disappoint you. Heal then rides Shell to get back to work. As everyone focused on mining, Heal decided to put his efforts into mining more turtle stone. At this time, Hyle helped Rhianna extend her life by 5 years, but he was still worried about her because she was only 15 years old, the same age as him. He guessed that she might want to live longer, and with that in mind, Hyle continued mining, knowing that he was the most efficient miner in the group. While mining, Heal found a white stone and quickly collected it. Unexpectedly, the white stone turned out to be the Dragon Ball, capable of reviving a dead person. Feeling excited, Heal immediately called everyone to exploit more in this area. However, despite a lot of mining, they did not find any more Dragon Balls. Heal realized that if they could revive as many people as they wanted with the Dragon Balls, it could become something scary. So he decided not to put it in storage, but to leave it out. At that moment, Elvan called him urgently. Heal quickly put down the Dragon Ball and ran up. However, the stone accidentally rolled out and fell on a corpse. When Heal arrived, Elvan reported that they had seen their comrade's ship approaching the island, and he was sure it was them. Everyone rejoiced at the news that the other goblins of their tribe were still alive, including Elvan's daughter. Heal warned Elvan that letting the ship dock here would be dangerous, and suggested that he use his boat to meet them. In his heart, Hyle thought perhaps Elvan and the others would leave the island with their tribe, so he gave them many sunstones as a parting gift, so they could restore the tribe somewhere else. Elvan was confused by Heal's word. When asked, Heal explained that they should leave this deserted island because it would be better to be somewhere else. He added that once they find a new settlement, they can start trading with each other. Hearing this, Elvan and the others were stunned and confused, not believing what they were hearing as they listened to Heal's goodbye. Immediately, Elvan shouted, asking Heal not to abandon them like that. He affirmed that they swore to always be by Heal's side and would never leave him. Rhianna also interjected, saying that they were Heal's subordinates and would always be loyal to him. Heal felt happy and relieved when he heard these words, but he reminded them that this might be their last chance to leave the island. Rhianna then asked why he didn't go with them. Heal looked back at the rocky mountain behind him, remembering the time when he just wanted to leave this place. But now, everything has changed. Rhianna understood Heal's feelings for this place and said that if he didn't leave, she wouldn't leave either. Elvan and Varys agreed, deeply moved Heal. But suddenly, the waves became fierce and began to sink their ship. Elvan panicked when he realized that most of the goblins on the ship couldn't swim. Without hesitation, they immediately boarded the boat to save those on board. Watching them rush away, Hyle realized they wouldn't get there in time. This moment brought back painful memories of the past, when he was helpless and unable to help anyone. But this time, Heal was different. He was no longer as desperate as before. With a look of determination, Heal ran straight to the edge of the cliff and jumped down. Filled with confidence, he was no longer as weak as before. Heal calmed his mind, placing all his trust in the Dungeon King badge. He used ice magic on the ocean, freezes the entire area around the ship and prevents it from capsizing. Seeing his current strength after using over 8,000 magic stones, Hyle was amazed. He continued to maintain the solid ice and shouted for Elvan and the others to cross the ice to save the goblins on the ship. To save those on the ship, Elvan immediately took action, but slipped and fell on the ice. Heal realized he hadn't expected this. At that moment, Terran jumped in with Heal and carried him across the ice on his back. Heal realized that Terran's quick feet could be the key to helping them in this situation. Terran's other spiders also quickly arrived to assist. Seeing the help from the spiders, Elvin felt sad because he couldn't do anything, and at the same time extremely grateful for their support. Shell and other slimes also participated in the rescue. Heel directed everyone to assist those who were sinking, while he used magic to block the rising waves. With the coordination of slimes, spiders, Elvin, and others, they saved everyone without any casualties. Heel continued to use magic to heal the injured during the rescue. Rihanna thanks Heel for saving everyone and wonders how she can repay him. Heel said he feels happy just knowing everyone is safe. Meanwhile, Elvin couldn't hold back his tears as he reunited with his daughter, Fu, after thinking for a long time that she was lost. His joy was indescribable when he realized she was still alive. Everyone was touched by this touching reunion. Heel emphasized that he could not do anything without everyone's support. He felt grateful for the help from spiders, slimes, Rihanna, Elvan, and Varys in saving the entire Beldon tribe. He told himself that in the past, he wouldn't have been able to do something like this. Looking back at the difference compared to before, Heel doesn't know how to express enough gratitude to everyone who helped him become a better version of himself. At that moment, Varys announced that there was a strange man standing behind Heel and asked who it was. This person's sudden appearance confused Heel. He asked Varys if this man could be from the ship, but Varys insisted there was no one like that on the ship. Varys also wondered if Heel had met this person in the cave, but Heel confirmed that he had not. What's even more strange is that this man is completely naked. Heel moved closer to communicate, but the man just walked over to the others and started eating. Turns out he was just hungry. Rihanna quickly decided to grill more fish for him and the others, while Hyle and Varys are still confused about who this man is. The next day, Heel was busy preparing rooms for the new arrivals on the island. He tamed them all and came up with new names for each of them. Although the circumstances are not entirely favorable, Hill feels happy because his island is becoming more and more vibrant. However, this also creates an urgent need to increase food production and supply. Rihanna came to Heel and invited him to try the grape juice she had just made. Fresh grape juice is pressed from grapes that she grows herself. Those grapes grew with the help of sunstones and seeds found on the ship. Rihanna told Heel that the growing scale is still small, but in a few years the garden will be filled with fruit. When hearing Rihanna mention the future, Heel felt very happy because she had never thought that far ahead before. Now Rihanna can look to the future with new hope. Heel smiled and told Rihanna that if she needed any help, she should just tell him. He ensures that she can rely on him whenever needed. At that moment, Heel heard the goblins were having trouble with a strange man, Mappa. Mappa was walking around and staring at everyone, making the goblins uncomfortable. An elf asked Mappa to go away because his eyes made them uneasy. Soon everyone called him Mappa. Mappa held up the items the goblins had made, then put them down as if they weren't good enough. An angry goblin challenged Mappa to make something himself, giving him a hammer. Suddenly, Mappa's eyes filled with determination. He started making things. With great skill, surprised everyone. Heel and the goblins realized that Mappa seemed to be very skilled at this job. As Mappa repeatedly struck the hot iron bars with powerful and precise blows, everyone was overwhelmed. Not long after, Mappa finished making an ice chisel, and the finished product was astonishing. The chisel is not only durable, but also beautiful like a work of art. Heel came up with the idea of comparing Mappa's chisel with the regular chisels they used to use, to see if there's any difference. When testing both types of chisels in the cave, all of Heel's doubts quickly disappeared. The chisel made by Mappa was superior, even though both were made from the same iron. Then, Heel suddenly remembered the location where he kept the Dragon Ball. He was sure that he had left the Dragon Ball in a specific place, but now it was no longer there. Upon closer inspection, he discovered a strange mark on the ground. He guessed that there might have been a skeleton lying in the darkness of the rocks, and at this moment, Hyle realized Mappa had been revived by the Dragon Ball. Although surprised, Heel felt happy to have another trustworthy teammate. With Mappa's help, they leveled the island's coastline. Not only that, the group also dismantled the ship and began rebuilding it. Many other large projects are also gradually being implemented. During this process, Heel also discovered many new types of slimes and tamed them to assist in transporting stones. Everything seems to be going smoothly, except for one problem. The amount of turtle stone is running out. Rihanna reassures Heel that she is fine with her current supply, but she comments that the 10 years of life they have gained is too little for a girl her age. At this moment, Heel realized that helping Rihanna was not the only reason why he diligently mined turtle stone. Deep inside, he wanted Rihanna to stay by his side longer. He wishes to continue to exploit and develop this island with her. While continuing to mine, Hyle suddenly discovered a giant room hidden deep in the cave. This surprised him. I always thought this was just a deserted island, but this room bears signs of life that existed a long time ago. Hyle decided to explore this mysterious room and collect whatever he found during his expedition. He discovers a core stone that has the ability to become the heart of an artificial body. With this stone, he can create puppets or add new members to the team. Next, he collected a golden stone in the center of the room. This is a transformation stone, allowing a monster to evolve into another species. As explained in detail, the transmutation stone can change a monster into a new species while retaining the lifespan and personality of the new form. At first, Hyle found this feature a bit strange and scary, but then an idea flashed in his mind. He decided to discuss it with Varys, Rihanna, and Elvin. When Hyle presented his findings, Varys confirmed that he had heard of this stone in tribal legends. Elvin was curious, but said he liked his current body and didn't want to change. Rihanna, in turn, expressed her desire to use the stone, hoping to gain the ability to use magic to aid Hyle. However, she hesitated, not sure if she should use such a precious thing. Elvin and Varys both agreed with this idea. Hyle also encouraged Rihanna, saying that if she could use magic, it would be very helpful. Above all, Hyle wishes she lived longer. Hyle's words strengthened Rihanna's resolve. She decided to use the transformation stone. Hyle handed the stone to Rihanna, and she clasped it in her hand, closing her eyes. In her mind, she wished to be with Hyle for a long time, and chose to transform into a stone globe rider. A brilliant light emitted from the stone, causing everyone to close their eyes. A few seconds later, when the light died down, everyone was surprised to see that Rihanna had transformed into a beautiful teenage human girl. Even Rihanna was surprised by her new appearance. The most shocked person was Mappa. His nose bled when he saw the beautiful girl in an undressed state. A few hours later, Hyle woke up, not remembering when he fell asleep. He recalls the moment Rihanna evolved, but everything after that becomes a blur. When he woke up, he realized his head was resting on Rihanna's lap. She gently reassured him that she would always be by his side. Making Hyle confused and embarrassed, he quickly sat up, still not used to her new appearance. Rihanna told Hyle to rest, because he fainted suddenly. After shielding her from Mappa's bloody nose, Hyle smiled slightly, saying he was fine, just a little tired. He asked how long he had slept. And how is Mappa's situation? Rihanna replied that Mappa was also sleeping. Hyle then asked her how she felt, since no one expected her to turn into a human. Rihanna was silent for a moment, then quietly confessed that she never liked her old form. She said that she was cursed since childhood, causing her body to gradually weaken over time. As a result, her beautiful sisters mocked her. Her parents initially tried to help, but eventually gradually distanced themselves from her. Having said this, Rihanna stopped and looked at Hyle. She said that when she first saw her new appearance in the mirror, her feelings were strange. Rihanna has become what she always dreamed of, a beautiful person. She apologized to Hyle for using the precious stone for a somewhat selfish wish. Hyle smiled and said she didn't need to apologize. I've also changed a lot since coming to this island. And he felt happy that she could start a new life in the form she loved. Hyle asserts that living in a body she doesn't like would be a waste. Rihanna thanked Hyle for his generosity and understanding. She said that since this new body was thanks to Hyle, she decided to dedicate everything to him. When Hyle grabbed her hand and was about to say something, the two suddenly realized Mappa was standing behind, quietly observing the situation. Startled them. Rihanna's transformation surprised the entire Belden clan. After that, she handmade clothes from the silk of Taran and other spiders. When she asked everyone's opinion, except for those who witnessed the moment she evolved, no one believed that she could change so much overnight. However, seeing Rihanna working hard, they gradually accepted her and grew closer to her. Rihanna quickly devoted herself to learning magic
and martial arts with unwavering ambition.
New life brings her joy and motivation. Hyle is happy to see Rihanna embracing change and living each moment to the fullest. One day, Varys came to ask Hyle what he was thinking, and Hyle immediately explained that he didn't pay any attention to Rihanna's legs. Varys, not understanding the implication, replied seriously that Hyle should pay attention to Rihanna's coat of arms, the farmer's coat of arms. Varys explains that this badge has the ability to ensure a good harvest, and that it was a wise decision for Hyle to assign farming duties to Rihanna. Heal was surprised to learn that an elf could also possess the crest. Varys admits that it's entirely possible. Heal apologizes if his words seem disrespectful, as he previously thought only humans could possess badges. To explain further, Varys showed Heal his crest, the crest of the Sorcerer King, a symbol of power. However, Varys said he couldn't use it because he didn't have magic. Despite this, he is still able to assist Rhianna in learning magic through his badge, although he cannot use magic himself. Varys reminded everyone that they should focus on reclaiming land from the sea to expand the island and increase agricultural land area. He also suggested creating larger areas for children to play. However, he emphasized that they will need more materials for this job. Heal responded that he wanted to try out an idea and volunteered to take on the task. He realized he could use the workshop even outside the cave. With this workshop, he began creating raw materials such as stone blocks in pre-planned locations. Afterward, Heal uses water magic to drain seawater from the surrounding area. Replace them with rocks and gravel, then cover the top with cave spider soil. He found that this job met his requirements and successfully created a large space outside the workshop. Once everything was complete, Rhianna, Varys, and Elven went to check out the new area. The children quickly ran after them. Seeing the spacious area, the children happily ran around, thanking Heal for this wonderful gift. Heal is happy to be able to help everyone, and Rhianna also thanked him, saying that she would use the new land to grow a rich harvest. Heal is also looking forward to the upcoming harvest season. Suddenly, a giant bird swooped down and attacked Mappa by surprise, devour him. The goblins panicked when they realized it was a killer bird, a famous raptor that hunts in groups. Heal quickly ordered everyone to retreat into the cave, and the group began running towards it. While running away, a child falls, making the situation more tense. Elven immediately rushed to help the child, while Heal used magic to ward off the attacking bird. Suddenly, a bird flew straight at Elven and the child, but at that moment, Elven made a quick slash, cutting the bird's throat and saving his daughter. He urged her to leave quickly, and continued fighting, showing the true power of a Beldan Elven commander. Heal decides to join Elven in battle. However, from behind, another bird suddenly rushed towards them. At this time, Rhianna promptly created a magical shield to block the attack, helping Heal focus on fighting without worrying. She encouraged him, do what needs to be done. Heal reminds Elvan to be careful and only attack the birds' heads, as they don't know which one swallowed Mappa. Varys called them back to the cave entrance for defense, and Heal recalls that he has the core stone. An idea suddenly flashed in his mind. He could create a giant golem from the available stone and place the core stone inside. When activated, the golem easily destroys the attacking birds at the cave entrance. The bird that swallowed Mappa finally spit him out, and a slime quickly caught him. Thanks to that, they don't need to worry about hurting Mappa in battle. Heal signaled Elven to regroup, and Elven quickly took up the axe, preparing to continue fighting. Elven used axes tied with strings made from Terran spider silk to tie up dozens of killer birds at once. These ropes are extremely sturdy. Then Heal stepped up and cast a blizzard spell, freezes all bound birds in one cast. Seeing this, the remaining killer birds panicked and immediately retreated. The group of goblins cheered in celebration of their victory, and Elven felt proud when witnessing Heal's excellent leadership and fighting abilities. Rhianna quickly ran to Heal's side and worriedly asked if he was injured. Heal admitted that he was scared at first, but having her by his side made him feel more comfortable. Even though the battle was over, Heal's legs were still shaking because this was the first time he faced such terrifying monsters. Varys approached, expressing his joy at seeing everyone safe, and others shared similar feelings. Heal realized he had improved a lot compared to before and began to feel proud of himself, someone who could become a true lord. The group returns to the cave, and on the way, Heal curiously asked Rhianna if killer birds can be eaten. Rhianna smiled and said that not only were they edible, but they were also delicious when grilled. That night, the whole group held a grand party like never before. Everyone enjoyed grilled killer birds, celebrated their victories, and enjoyed the feeling of unity after a hard battle. This was Heal's first time trying monster meat, and he was surprised to find it delicious. He felt happy, and Rhianna was also happy to see him enjoying his meal enthusiastically. She suggested he try meat from the breast of a killer bird, called Soul, and Heal also found it delicious. Rhianna explained that the flavor of the meat depends on different parts of killer bird's body. Each part has a distinct taste. Although they were now aware of the dangers posed by the killer birds, Heal realized they could also be a valuable food source. Therefore, he decided to let the golem stand guard to monitor the appearance of these birds. Varys is satisfied with this decision, as Killerbird usually stays away from larger creatures. Varys also proposed forming a guard and began planning to build walls and watchtowers to protect the fields from damage from sea salt. He'll assigned Teal the task of processing the stone, while Varys will be in charge of detailed planning for the project. Meanwhile, Heal noticed a little girl staring at him. He recognized it as Elven's daughter, but couldn't remember her name. The girl smiled and reminded Heal of her name, the name that Heal had given her, making him laugh at his absent-mindedness. The little girl Fu asked Heal why he was so strong. Heal explained that it was thanks to the use of magic stones he had found through mining. Fu seemed very excited to hear about such magical stones, and asked if she could help mine them. Rhienna tells Fu that to use magic, she needs to use a transformation stone to evolve. Fu immediately wanted to try to evolve, but that was impossible because they currently had no transformation stones left. At that time, Elven appeared and gently punched Fu for bothering Heal, reminding her not to talk rudely to him. Elvan later apologized to Heal for his daughter's behavior. Heal just smiled, clearly seeing the similarities between father and son. He encouraged Fu that if she found a transformation stone, she could use it. Hearing this, Fu was very excited and decided to join Heal in mining work. She promised to do her best to help Heal, and Heal was also happy to have another person to support the mining work. Heal then used 800 magic stones to enhance Rhienna's magical abilities. She took responsibility for developing her skills and pledged to do her best to improve further. Elvan reminded her that Rhienna needed to eat well to maintain her strength. And the day ended with Huld succeeding in acquiring new land, with delicious meals, turning that day into a 1-year anniversary at Sheol Reef. The next day, Heal visited the cold storage that Rhienna had proposed to preserve large quantities of food. He built it quite big, but unfortunately, he caught a cold because he stayed in there for too long. Thanks to this cold storage, they no longer have to worry about meat spoiling. Rhienna explains that food stored in cold storage can be kept for more than 6 months. Mappa decided to design a door for a cold storage facility, and Heal immediately understood Mappa's idea, creating the door in the shape he wanted. After that, they also carried out renovating the boats. The job was assigned to Mappa and Varys, while Rhienna took on the task of regularly casting freezing spells to maintain the temperature in the cold storage. Rhienna becomes more and more confident thanks to the support of Elven and Varys. Heal was happy to see the outer defenses completed, thanks to the help of Elvan and Varys. Once everything was stable, he could focus on mining again. Fu commented that she was surprised to see everything go smoothly without incident. She was impressed that Heal, thanks to the Dungeon King badge, could achieve so much despite not having a cave. Fu also reminded them that they needed to add a ventilation system, because if dirt accumulated for too long, it would harm the lungs. If toxic gases such as carbon monoxide build up, it can lead to poisoning or even blowing up the cave. Fu said that she had heard about a device that helps release air from inside to the outside and decided to ask Mappa to create it later. Fu's advice proved extremely useful. The girl also revealed that she has a miner's badge and has worked in the mine since he was a child. Heal felt reassured and encouraged Fu to freely share her thoughts if she noticed anything that needed to be changed. Fu's vast experience and good intuition make her an excellent mining competitor, and she quickly becomes Heal's best rival in mining, behind only Terran. Fu then suddenly asked Heal if he had a father. Heal replied that he had, but his memories of his father were quite vague and difficult. He also confessed that he was scared of his father and brothers. Even though he now possesses great strength, Heal still feels that his family has superior strength, much greater than him. Heal asked Fu if she wanted to become stronger than her father. Fu felt that Heal's question was very clear, and of course she wanted to be stronger than her father. While exploring, she suddenly discovered an empty cave, and curious about what was inside, ran in to check. Inside is a large stone room. Fu asked Heal if the transformation stone had ever been stored in a similar room. Heal nodded in agreement, which made Fu very excited, and she wanted to explore further. However, suddenly one of the statues in the room moved and used fire magic. Heal quickly created a magical shield to protect himself and Fu. He asked if Fu was injured, and after confirming the girl was safe, Heal realized that these statues acted like golems, capable of not only moving but also using magic. The golems continued to attack, some wielding swords, surrounded Heal and Fu. However, Heal has a strategy to deal with them. He used wind magic to create storms, throwing golems far away. Fu was not injured, but she apologized for rushing in without thinking. Heal comforted her that he did not expect to face such golems. He quickly signaled Shell to notify everyone to stop mining operations. While examining the area, Fu discovered a stone and eagerly asked Heal if it was a transformation stone. But upon closer inspection, Heal discovered that it was a magic stone, a type of stone that can be used to create artificial puppets. Fu felt disappointed when she learned that this was not the transformation stone she expected. At that moment, Mappa suddenly appeared, startling Fu. He happily picked up the swords from the destroyed golems and quickly returned to the ground. His face beamed as if he had just found a treasure. Fu wondered how long Mappa would continue to be naked and asked Heal if all humans were like that. Heal laughed and replied that not everyone was like that, but it was clear that Mappa was especially excited. Mappa kept trying to pick up a sword from another golem, but no matter how hard he tried, the sword wouldn't budge. Even if Heal and Fu tried together, they couldn't lift it. Heal tried collecting the sword, but was informed that he could not collect anything other than minerals and mined items. He decided to use his spade to smash the sword, but the initial blows had no effect. He persistently tried again and again, and finally, after many tries, the sword broke. Heal wondered what the sword was made of and discovered it was made of orichalcum, a material lighter than metal, but strong and capable of enhancing magical effects. As he continued to check his inventory, Heal suddenly saw something surprising. But before he could react, he had to return to the main cave. There, Elvan was trying to lift the sword that Mappa had brought back. When Heal walked in, he asked what happened. Rihanna explains that everyone tried to lift the sword, but no one was able to do it. Heal found this to be a very difficult challenge, as the sword was made of 300 orichalcum, a very rare and heavy material. Elvan did not give up and kept trying. Finally, with all his strength, Elvan succeeded in lifting the sword, making everyone surprised and admired. Thanks to the enhanced strength of the Great Warrior Crest, Elvan was able to lift the orichalcum sword. But he could not hold it for long, and finally had to let it fall. Heal quickly ran to his side, using healing magic to heal his wounds, luckily only minor injuries. Fu immediately ran to hug his father tightly, blamed him for acting foolishly and making her worry. Elvan apologized and promised to be more careful from now on. Meanwhile, Mappa easily lifted the sword and placed it in the smithy. As a member of the legendary dwarf tribe, Mappa has always enjoyed using rare minerals. With extraordinary strength, mysterious techniques, and noble spirit, he began to forge with orichalcum. Soon, Mappa created a special item for Heal, a spade made from orichalcum, clearly crafted just for him. Afterwards, Mappa continued to create many other tools from orichalcum, although he maintained his odd habit of not wearing any clothes. The next day, Elvan faced a monster, and found that his axe was ineffective against it. Determined not to back down, Elvan moved closer to face the creature, taking it as a challenge. Meanwhile, at the cave, Fu checks the ventilation area and confirms that everything is perfect, thanks to the ventilation holes. In Mappa's rotating blade system, tidal energy continuously brings in fresh air, making the space cleaner and more pleasant. Fu said she wanted to return to mining immediately, and Heal agreed with her. However, he decided to wait a little longer because they had just been attacked the day before. However, Fu decided to go straight to the smithy to prepare everything alone, while Heal was thinking about the best way to continue mining safely. Heal decided to create new golems to ensure people could mine more safely. He wanted these golems to function more accurately, so he started drawing designs on the ground. However, Heal was so enamored that he accidentally designed a golem made entirely of orichalcum, equipped with swords, bows, guns, and even magic stones. When Rihanna suddenly appeared to see what Heal was doing, Heal was startled, and she quickly apologized for interrupting his work. Rihanna asked Heal if he had a moment, told him to come with her. This is very rare for her to be so proactive. They went to the farming area, and Heal was stunned to see that this space was thriving with new crops such as apples, grapes, lemons, and coconuts. He praised Rihanna's efforts, calling her a wonderful gardener, which made her very happy. However, Rihanna explains that it is still not enough to feed everyone, and she has plans to improve. Rihanna shows off the martial arts skills she learned from Elvan by punching a coconut that fell from the tree, then use your foot to cut it in half while jumping into the air. Heal was amazed at her strength. She mixed lemon juice with coconut water, creates a great drink. Heal enjoys a new drink. Sip on the refreshing flavor and perfect balance of sweet and sour. It tasted even better than the juice he drank before. At that moment, they heard sounds from the beach. Elvan just defeated Satan Shell, a terrifying seashell monster, and warns people to be careful when facing it. Varys says that others shouldn't try. Elvan can handle it because he's strong. Varys continued to squeeze something out of the shell, and Heel asked what it was. Meanwhile, Mayappa quickly tasted it and fell to the ground. Varys explains it is a numbing solution from the Satan Shell. Varys joked that it could become a deadly poison, but soon he admitted it was just a joke, and said it could be used to produce valuable purple dye. To protect the territory from killer birds, Satan's Shell, and other threats, Heel creates 14 new golems and names them from 1 to 14. Among them, golems from number 6 to 15 are equipped with magic stones. 2 golems are taught defensive magic, while the other 2 golems learn one of the 4 basic elements. Suddenly, the guards sound an alarm, warning everyone of the threat of an intruding Satan's Shell. They are pouring in from the unfinished wall area. There are up to 50 Satan's Shells, making people doubt if they can handle them all. Heel asked Varys about their weakness, and Varys replied that Satan's Shell could not withstand lightning attacks. After learning this, Heel told Elven to leave the job to him, as he wanted to test the new golems he had just created. Elven agreed and reminded Heel to call him if there were any problems. Rhianna expressed her desire to participate because she also knew lightning magic. Heel summoned golem number 1, and together with golems number 6, 7, 14, and 15, he headed towards the battle with Satan's Shell. When the monsters rushed up the wall and attacked, Heel ordered golems 6 and 7 to use protection magic. Rhianna immediately used lightning magic, quickly destroying many monsters. Meanwhile, Elvan and Varys monitor the progress of the battle. Golems act as mobile fortresses with high durability. Heel then directed golems 14 and 15 to attack the Satan's Shell horde with lightning. Feeling pressured, the monsters used the paralysis solution, but the golems easily created shields to block it. This process is continuously repeated with lightning attacks. In the end, Elvan was pleased to see the golems perform so well, protecting Heel from the paralyzing solution. The battle ended faster than expected. The golems used powerful magic throughout the battle, and Heel praised everyone, especially Rhianna, for their assistance. However, there are still a few monsters left alive. When Heel was attacked from behind by the paralyzing solution, Rhianna noticed in time and rushed to protect him. Elven quickly dealt with the monster, but Heel realized that Rhianna was lying on top of him, her body covered in paralyzing solution. This left her unable to move. Heel immediately used magic to heal her. Rhianna thanked him, and complained that her body was all sticky now. Understanding that she might feel uncomfortable, Heel hurried to get her water. On the way, he accidentally discovered a gem in the shell of a Satan's Shell. It's a very rare find. The gem looked very beautiful, and Heel thought it would suit Rhianna, so he decided to give it to her. However, Rhianna suddenly became confused, returned the stone to him, and ran away. Heel realized he was probably too hasty, and it wasn't the right time to give her the stone, so he kept it. The next day, during mining, when it was time to rest, Heel was with Fu and Shell. However, Fu did not want to rest and continued to dig deeper. Heel reminded her not to forget to eat and drink, but Fu just told him not to worry. Since Fu couldn't ignore anything the princess did, Heel left golem number 9 behind in case the alarm was needed if something happened. They continued mining under the protection of the golem. Heel realized that Fu actually had more energy than anyone else. After that, they went to find Rhianna to eat. Today's meal was filled with dishes made from Satan's shells, which looked so attractive that they couldn't resist. It seems that Satan's shells have created nests nearby, and thanks to them, they have a source of food, dye, and high-quality shells. However, the tidal currents around Sheol Reef have swept in many other things, includes the corpse of a monster. They then tested the dye Tyrian Purple, a famous dye often used by aristocrats. Heel decided to use it to make costumes for the group. Just then, Elven walked in with a serious expression. Elven then asked Heel to come with him to the cleared grounds. When they came to check, Heel saw the body of an orc caught in the embankment and swept away. Heel recognized the mark on the orc's hand as belonging to the tribe that had ravaged and burned their homeland. The other goblins became angry and began kicking the orc's body because it was these orcs that were the cause of their suffering. Heel moved forward to stop them, but no one listened to him. He felt he had no right to intervene, as their tribes had been devastated by these same orcs. At that moment, Princess Rhianna appeared and asked everyone to stop. She was angry when she saw the goblins kicking corpses, thinking that such an action would harm the honor of their tribe. One goblin argued that these orcs were the reason their tribes were destroyed, and even used their king's body as a lesson for others. But Rihanna firmly insisted that they should not act like those orcs. She emphasized that Heal will be the one to decide how to resolve this issue. She apologized to Heal for the inconvenience, and he appreciated her support as his feelings were similar to what she told everyone. Heal decided to accept responsibility. If you are a leader, you understand that people are angry and want to vent their anger. But he didn't want them to do something as shameful as kicking the orc's body. Heal bowed his head and asked everyone to control their anger. People feel ashamed of their actions, especially when they see the leader bowing his head like that. Elvin and Varys immediately told Heal to raise his head. Afterwards, Heal tasked Varys with organizing the burial of the orc's body. But soon, Heal realized that this was not the only body. The sea was full of corpses floating everywhere. When they pulled up all the corpses, they discovered not only the corpses of orcs, but also the corpses of kobolds, longtime enemies of the goblins and rivals of the orcs. Heal wondered if orcs and kobolds had fought each other, but this still did not explain why their corpses appeared in this remote area. Around them, Elvin steps forward and tells Heal that something is very strange, because all the injuries on the corpses are terrible. Around them, Elvin steps forward and tells Heal that something is very strange, because all the injuries on the corpses are terrible. Some orc corpses were even missing half their bodies. Heal asked if Elvin was implying that they had been attacked by something else. Elvin was unable to confirm this, and temporarily suggested strengthening the defenses while being on the lookout for any armed ships that might appear. Even Hal, as the Cave King, found this very confusing. Heal assigned Varys the task of organizing the burial, while Elvin was responsible for fortifying the defenses. And meanwhile, Hal and Rhianna search for useful things, as any means that can help them survive are essential in this situation. Everything around them is in a critical state. Suddenly, Heal heard a strange sound. He asked Rhianna if that was her voice, but then realized the sound was coming from a treasure chest. He decided to open the chest using his unlocking skills. When the chest opened, something rushed out, and Heal caught it. It's a puppy. The puppy immediately ran around him. Heal asked Rhianna what he should do in this situation, but soon after, the puppy peed on his clothes. Heal felt confused, while Rhianna laughed and assured him that she would wash his clothes. Looking at the adorable puppy, Heal realized it was a kobold child. Rhianna hopes everyone will understand that a kobold child is innocent, and their tribe needs to take care of it. The next day, Heal continued mining and obtaining ore. He likes to use the special ice axe made from orichalcum that Mappa made. However, Heal is still worried about the possibility of fighting along the coast, and has not found a solution. In this situation, the best thing he could do was keep mining, because there was no clear answer yet. Heal wants to collect more raw materials that can be used to protect the island. He continued mining ores, collecting them, and regularly checking his inventory. However, he noticed he began to obtain less magic stones, something he desperately needed to enhance Rhianna's magical energy. He also thought that he might need these magic stones for Fu and Varys later. But right now, there's nothing he can do to change the situation. While examining what he had just mined, Heal discovered a new item he had never seen before. This left him feeling confused, as even the Cave King's mark didn't provide any information about it. The item is not a stone, but a chair. Just then, Fu came to call Heal. He asked her if she had come to mine. Fu informed him about the problem with the kobold child. He cried non-stop, despite Elvin's attempts to make funny faces to make him laugh. Even Taryn joined in to help the kobold child smile, but no matter how hard they tried, he wouldn't stop crying. Then Fu appeared and kicked Elvin because his scary expressions made the kobold child cry louder instead of making him laugh. Elvin said that he often did this to make Fu laugh when she was young, but Heal also agreed that this time he only scared the kobold child more. Elvin greeted Heal, and immediately the kobold child became aware of his presence. It rushed over and started playing with Heal. Turns out the kobold child was just looking for Heal, as he had been crying since waking up from his nap. Rhianna commented that the kobold child probably considered Heal its father, and reminded him that its urination on him might be a way to mark its territory. Varys added that it is a kobold child's natural instinct to leave marks on others. Heal then asked Varys about the chest the kobold child was found in. Varys explains that the chest is shallower than they thought, because the inside is not as deep as it looks. Varys suspects that there is a false chest bottom. Even though they tried opening the chest with orichalcum knives, they could not open it, even though the bottom of the chest was made of wood. Heel recalls that cases like this often involve special locking mechanisms. He decided to use magic to unlock the bottom of the fake chest, and they were glad to see it worked. Inside, Heel took out the items hidden in the chest. The bottom of the fake chest contained 3 books on history, Eid techniques and scriptures of the Tiberius tribe, along with a white stone. Heel flipped through the books and discovered the tribe's name, but he was still confused about the stone's purpose. The mark of the Cave King on his body quickly indicated that this was a thought stone, a stone used to store thoughts. Elvin and Rihanna curiously asked what this stone was, while Varys seemed to already know about it. Suddenly, the stone glowed brightly and became active, creates a holographic image of a female kobold. Heel is surprised and wonders who she is, while Rihanna comments that she is very beautiful. The contents stored in the Thought Stone are apparently available to anyone who can unlock the chest seal. The holographic female kobold introduced herself as Queen Alhemina of the Tiberius tribe. She introduced herself as Queen Alamina of the Tiberius tribe, and that the kobold child in the chest was her newborn son. Elvan felt angry with the Tiberius tribe, but he just silently listened to the queen's message. Alamina continues, saying she only has a little time left. Their ship is being hunted by the legendary monster Leviathan, and they were exhausted after a battle with a horde of orcs. Not only that, their weapons and magic were ineffective against Leviathan, making it impossible for them to escape its clutches. The queen begged that whoever opened the chest should become the child's adoptive parents. In return for this kindness, she promised to give the 2 strongest warriors from her tribe, tasked with guarding the chest, along with secret books that had never been revealed to outsiders. She earnestly requested them to take good care of the child, and, if possible, let him hear her last words when he grew up. It was a touching message, conveying that the baby's mother, Alhemina, loved him very much. As Alhemina's smile and message faded, the kobold child received it all. But because he was too young, he could not fully understand the meaning of those words. The message stored in the Thought Stone ended there. Everyone was lost in thought about what might have happened to the Tiberius tribe. Elvan was angry that they had left the baby to be raised by someone else, and that even the protective warriors the queen had spoken of had not appeared. Rihanna urged Elvan not to think so negatively, and he went to inform the guards about the situation. Heel wants to learn more about the Tiberius tribe, and Fu recounts the ongoing battles between the Tiberius and Belden tribes over territorial disputes. She sadly shared that her brother also died in that war. Heel was relieved to see that Elvin showed no hostility towards the kobold child, despite having heard the entire stored message. Fu said that her father would never hate a child. Varys added, explaining that General Elvin blamed himself for not being able to protect his son. It turns out that Varys also lost his brother in the war, but he holds no grudge against the kobold child. Hearing that, Hael decided to take care of the kobold child from now on. This made everyone very happy. He then asked the group what they should name the baby, since the message didn't mention its name. Rihanna suggests that perhaps Queen Alamina intentionally did not name the baby, so that the person who found it could treat it as her own and name it herself. Heel asked Rihanna if she had any ideas for names. After a moment of thinking, she suggested naming the baby Riel. Heel also liked this name, and from then on, the kobold child was called Riel. Although he had no intention of taming the child, Heel realized that this kobold child counted as one of the tame creatures, which made sense since he would be living in the cave with them. Fu teases Rihanna, saying she named the baby by combining her name with Hael's. Hearing that, Irina blushed shyly. Sometime after that incident, Mappa appeared with a new invention and asked Heel to test it with an offensive spell. Heel asked again to be sure, and after receiving a confirmation, he uses a powerful fire magic to attack. Mappa's new invention turns out to be a shield that equips the golem, and it is much more powerful than using a regular magical shield. Heel felt secure leaning against it and asking what people were doing. Varys announces another of Mappa's inventions, capable of protecting the island from even giant monsters. However, Heel was still worried about the Leviathan and asked Varys if the monster was really that legendary creature. Elvin also admitted that he did not believe it before. But when the elite soldiers led by Queen Alamina were unable to fight Leviathan and were completely destroyed, their fears were completely founded. At that moment, Heel heard Riel barking. When he went back to check, he found Riel stuck on high construction timbers. Elvin noticed this and immediately went to save Riel. During the rescue, he fell but was still able to save Riel in time. Rihanna is happy to see that both Riel and General Elvin are safe. Elvin thought that Riel should have been playing in the fields with Rihanna a long time ago. Rihanna smiled and said that Riel was very active, especially in the fields where he often dug tirelessly. Heel noticed that Riel wandered around a lot, making it difficult for Rihanna to keep up. Varys explains that kobold children usually mature very quickly, and soon Riel will walk on 2 legs like an adult. Heel was a bit surprised to hear this, but then he remembered the seeds he had found in the field earlier. He took out the seed and asked Varys if he knew anything about it. Varys also didn't know what this seed was, but Rihanna suddenly said it was the Yggdrasil seed. Heel and Varys were both surprised, and even Rihanna didn't know how she knew that. She explained that these words just accidentally fell out of her mouth. They later realized that this knowledge came from Rihanna's farmer's mark, which gave her knowledge of all types of plants. Varys added that he knew about Yggdrasil, a giant tree that blesses all living things, but is mentioned only in legends, like a transformation stone. Afterwards, Heel walked around the island to find a suitable place to dig. While digging, he saw this as a great opportunity to create a field for the group. He realized he had enough materials and ordered the spiders to start clearing the land, because his gathering function only worked in the cave, and he needed help to clean up the debris. Heel worked tirelessly, and by the end of the day, he had completed their new farming area. He approached the center of the field and decided to plant the Yggdrasil seed there. Rihanna went with Hyle and started planting some flower seeds around the area, seeds she brought from her hometown. Heel feels this place will become beautiful. Suddenly, Mappa suddenly appeared to witness the planting of the Yggdrasil tree. Rihanna quickly realized that the Yggdrasil seed had begun to sprout, and the process was happening faster than usual. Mappa asked both of them if they used the sunstone, but they confirmed no. He suggested trying to use the sunstone right then and there. When Rihanna applied the sunstone to the sapling, it quickly grew into a tree within seconds. Heel knew that the sunstone was very powerful, but the Yggdrasil tree began to grow at a gigantic speed. He asked Rihanna if she was sure to only use one sunstone, and she confirmed that she only used one. The three realized that such rapid growth could be dangerous if they were too close to the tree. Immediately, they started running away. While running, Mappa tripped and was covered in all directions by the expanding tree trunk. As the tree continued to grow faster, Heel and Rihanna promptly ran to a safe distance. The Yggdrasil tree quickly reached its full size, growing so large that it could be seen from farmland across the island, where Elvin and Varys had also seen it. Heel and Rihanna looked up at the giant Yggdrasil tree with admiration, realizing that its legendary reputation was well deserved. After planting the Yggdrasil tree, Heel reflects on his past. At that time, there was a little monster who was always bullied by a group of boys. They frequently attack the poor creature when it is chained up. Every time they have free time, they come and torture it. This group is led by Oren, and they intentionally use the monster to practice magic. Even though all of them were excellent students from the Magic Academy, although they were careful not to kill the monster, they still caused gradual damage, making them worse over time. Heel was very scared at that time and didn't dare to intervene. So he just waited until they left. After each occurrence, he came to take care of the monster and called it Lopes. Heel confesses that he took care of Lopes every day, but now he feels guilty because his healing magic is not strong enough to heal Lopes. Lopes' injuries have become so serious that they cannot be cured. Heel also lacks the strength to break the chains that hold it. He feared that if things continued like this, Lopes would die. Heel decided to stay by Lopes' side until Oren's group returned. When Oren appeared with his subordinates, he saw Heel standing before Lopes. Oren coldly asked Heel what he was doing there. Heel took a deep breath, opened his mouth, and begged Oren to stop and let Lopes go. Oren didn't like that request. He took off his gloves and slapped Heel hard, showing his contempt and anger at Heel's interference. Oren didn't like the fact that Hyle begged him to release Lopes, even though Heel was of royal blood. Oren's anger erupted when he ordered Heel to step aside, calling him useless and threatening to turn him into ashes, along with Lopes if he did not obey. Heel knew he could do nothing but continue to plead with Oren for Lopes' life. He kept saying please to Oren over and over again. Oren felt tired of Heel's pitiful pleas and coldly told him to do whatever he wanted. Heel was surprised at Oren's change in attitude. But then Oren explains that he is fed up with this type of training and no longer cares about the monster. Heel felt relieved to hear that, but immediately Oren told him to freely let Lopes go. He said that Heel could do whatever he wanted, and if he wanted to release Lopes, he could do so. However, Orin emphasized that a monster could not be allowed to roam freely in the capital, and if he met Lopes again, he would destroy it immediately. Orin gives Heel a few seconds to act and save Lopes if possible. He started counting down from 10. As the seconds ticked by, Heel did everything he could to save Lopes, using an unlocking tool to try to remove the chains. However, all his efforts were in vain. The chains were too tight, and Heel couldn't remove them in time. Lopes, realizing that he was going to die, could only smile gently at Heel. When Orin finished counting, all that was left of Lopes was ash. Heel collapsed in despair, witnessing Lopes' destruction before his eyes and unable to do anything to save him. Orin calls Heel a useless person for letting his friend die like that, but in reality, he knew that Heel would do nothing to save Lopes. From the beginning, Heel rushed to attack Orin, but could not get close because of Orin's shield. Heel was angry and cried, while Orin made it clear that someone as weak as him could never hope to touch someone as strong as Orin, with a menacing look in his eyes. Then Heel remembered waking up in a hospital bed. He tried to get up and go back to where Lopes' ashes still lay. The pendant around his neck turns out to be Lopes' ashes, something he has always treasured, and he feels guilty because he made a promise but couldn't keep it. He told Rihanna that this was himself, and she consoled him that he was not useless. She reminded him of the efforts devoted to the Belden and Lopes tribes, always dedicating themselves to helping others. Hearing his story, she shed tears and apologized for everything he had gone through in the past. He wondered why he was telling this story now, and realized he just wanted someone to listen. A moment later, Rael happily approached them. The three of them stood up and started walking through the surrounding trees, and he knew that he just wanted to share his story with Rihanna. As they passed through the trees, the field was filled with blooming flowers, a place that belonged to Rihanna's hometown. Rael happily ran around the fields, and then Rihanna called Heel, saying that although he could not erase his regrets about Lopes, he was no longer alone. You have a big family, and he was very grateful to Rihanna for that. He then asked Varys to investigate further about the Yggdrasil plant, and discovered that the plant's leaves could be used to make ointments and teas, but if used too much, it would cause one to fall into a dreamy state, so need to be careful. The branches are not only light, but also strong enough to be used with orichalcum tools. They also tried making handles for orichalcum ice axes from tree branches, and after completing much work, time passed quickly until dinner time. He informed Rihanna about dinner, but she said she wasn't tired yet. He suggested that she could continue tomorrow, and she agreed and left her axe. He realized that Yggdrasil branches also had fatigue-relieving properties, and this tree truly gives people many blessings. He looks forward to the upcoming harvest season, when the flower fields always bloom brilliantly. He was happy to see their life on the island becoming more and more rich. And soon, Rael fell asleep. He went to bed wondering what he would exploit tomorrow. When he woke up in the morning, he saw Rael behaving strangely and crying. The others came to check why Rael was crying, and Heel guessed that he might be having a nightmare. Rihanna tried to comfort Rael, but he seemed uneasy. Then Heel noticed a symbol in Rael's left eye. Turns out it was a badge. And suddenly, the area around them became completely white. Rael's symbol sends a signal directly into the minds of others, and they saw his memories from the day the Tiberius tribe was destroyed. Corpses were scattered across the deck, and Alamina did her best to protect everyone from the monsters, but the creature was too strong. It easily broke her shield, and broke her stick as well as her right arm. She tried to use the shield again, but her efforts were in vain. As the monster charged and swallowed her along with half of the ship, Heel felt a wave of fear, almost falling to his knees. Just looking at the monster and Rihanna, everyone saw the same thing. They realized the danger brought by Leviathan, causing Heel to begin sweating in fear. After that vision, Varys informed them that the symbol in Rael's eye was called the Eye of Heaven. This badge is believed to be the all-seeing eye of the gods, meaning everything they just witnessed was what Rael saw before leaving his mother. The power of the heavenly eye affected the entire island, and everyone witnessed Leviathan's terrible power. Residents worry about whether Leviathan will attack their island, and if so, what they can do about it. They were afraid, and Heel felt the same way. He wasn't sure what he would do if Leviathan came here, whether he would actually be able to protect everyone. Elvan shouted loudly to remind everyone to stop frowning and remember what they had overcome so far. If they work together with Heel, then nothing is impossible. He strengthened everyone's faith in Heel, and then decided to stand up and tell them. He advised everyone to stay calm and start preparing for a potential attack from the monster. Even though they weren't certain, they couldn't take a legendary creature lightly. No matter how powerful the monster is, they will surely stand together against it. He asked everyone to give him their strength, and after he finished speaking, he began to think about the next steps.
After watching Alamina's battle with Leviathan, he understood that his magic would not be effective.
So he asked Mappa if the orichalcum weapon was effective. Mappa was not sure, and they all pondered the matter. He tried to find a solution. He intended to go to a place deep in the cave where he discovered the golem, and they can build a refrigerator right next to it to store items. But Elvin points out that it could collapse if the monster attacks the island, and suggests retreating. Heel said he had an idea for that too, and began to form a special place for another purpose. After that, he wanted to exploit new materials and discuss them with everyone. During this time, the island developed strongly thanks to new underground discoveries. He suspected that the Sheol Reef was still full of mysteries. This means it's still possible that there's something lurking in the caves that could confront a creature like the Leviathan. You can't be sure of that without testing. Therefore, Varys suggested that he should bring Riel. This time he thought that Riel's third eye could be very useful, so he set off with Riel on his back. Not long after the search began, Riel slept without doing anything. He thought that Riel would wake up soon, so he would explore alone for now. And so the entire island began working together to devise defense plans against Leviathan. They don't have to worry about wood thanks to the Yggdrasil tree, and quickly, the construction of the defensive walls was almost complete. When Riel woke up and started barking, he thought the boy might have discovered something. But it turns out Riel just wanted to go to the bathroom. During the discovery process, Riel was still somewhat uneasy. But thanks to his ability to see through rocks, Riel helped Heel discover large ore deposits that even he could not find. After a few weeks, Riel began to act more aggressively, pointing to a high spot full of ore. Everyone was confused and thought that Riel wanted to mine there, but the problem they encountered in doing so was that there was not enough optimal lighting in that area. I wonder if it's okay. But he believed that Riel must have discovered something. He knew that if he exploited carefully, everything would be fine. But as soon as he hit the ground, he fell into a secret cave right below that place. Inside, he saw a giant suit of armor, with a sword 5 times larger than his body. He realized that in the armor was a golem, but the core stone was missing. The armor seems to be made from orichalcum, but the sword seemed to be made from an even stronger material. He wanted to take a closer look at the sword's material, so he hit it with his hammer. The sound of the blow echoed throughout the cave, reaching Mappa's ears. Heel realized that he could not simply smash the sword, as his metal was stronger than orichalcum. Suddenly, Mappa appeared behind him like a shadow. He didn't notice when Mappa had arrived. When Mappa saw the sword, his eyes widened in surprise at its beauty, and he became so excited that he began to worship it like a god. Heel wondered what was going on, and why Mappa was more interested than usual. Mappa then brought the heavy sword back to the surface to work on it. Mappa worked on the sword with the help of other blacksmiths, but it seemed he was having difficulty with something. The other blacksmiths informed Heel that there was not enough heat to melt the sword. At that moment, Rhianna appeared and saw the sword. Heel asked her to help him melt the sword by combining his magical energy with the power of the furnace. They used fire magic, and the furnace's power increased several times, then immediately put the sword inside. After the fusing process is successful, the molten material is removed. After turning into raw materials, he took some to test, and it turned out to be mithril, the metal said to be the hardest, lost since the time of the gods. It is capable of killing even gods, and can be combined with magic. Heel was delighted to achieve this, and thanked Riel for helping him find the sword. Now for the sequel, he believes that Mappa can use mithril to create the most powerful weapon. Finally, their defensive wall was complete, and the land has been restored, now resembling a fortress, which is amazing as they prepare to face a legendary creature. They continued to devise other plans to defeat it, marking the beginning of the first great battle of Sheol. That night, he noticed Elvin was with Riel, and then Rhianna quietly approached him from behind, signaling him to keep quiet and see what happened next. When Riel bowed his head and apologized for what he said about his mother earlier, he admitted that she was truly a great warrior, and asked him to continue observing, as together they would avenge his mother. Riel bowed his head and apologized for what he said about his mother earlier. Heel and Rhianna heard this, and then Riel gently placed his hands on his eyes, causing him to let out a small cry of pain. Now, things are gradually getting better inside. It only remains to trust in the power of Sheol. If Leviathan appears, they will be ready. After a while, the guards sounded the alarm, and Heel hurriedly checked to see what was happening. Elvan informed him that 2 ships had appeared at sea, and Varys gave him a telescope so he could see for himself. Looking through the telescope, he saw the symbol of the same orc tribe that had attacked the Beldan tribe before. It turns out they are survivors of an orc tribe. And Elvan was very angry, thinking that if they came to attack the island, they would not be easily let go. Suddenly, something huge appeared in the sea. A certain distance from the ships, ships began to attack it. And Heel realized they were actually trying to escape from something very scary. Riel has started barking, and Heel understood that something was very wrong here. He felt a huge wave of magic coming from the sea, and what they witnessed next terrified everyone. It's the legendary creature Leviathan, rose from the ocean with a giant shadow that seemed to reach the sky, revealing its enormous size, accompanied by a terrifying roar that caused the surrounding waves to be in turmoil. The orc warriors on the ships fought desperately against the Leviathan, but their attacks were ineffective. At that time, defeating this ferocious monster seemed almost impossible. Heel wanted to save the remaining ship, and Elvan quickly rang the alarm to prepare everyone. He ordered them not to stand still, but to prepare for the upcoming battle by standing in the positions they had practiced for the past week. Heel worries if saving orcs, their enemies, will be too much for Elvan. But Elvan insists that he did not do it to save the orcs. He simply believed it was best to attack the Leviathan while it was distracted by warships. Heel understood and then directed Fu to order everyone to evacuate into the cave as planned. Fu obeyed, telling everyone preparing to fight to survive at all costs. Heel is confident in his team, and with a smile, they begin their fight against Leviathan. Varys followed closely, providing instructions to prepare heavy crossbows and gather arrows. The goblins worked together to prepare crossbows, with arrows made of mithril. Mappa poured his heart into making these arrows, and they are strong enough to pierce anything. They aimed their arrows at Leviathan. As it approached the ship, they sensed that the time had come and shot the arrow. The arrows flew away at incredible speeds, but right before crashing into Leviathan, the monster easily dodged. Heel knew that while the arrows wouldn't hurt it, mithril arrows would surely take it down, which was why Leviathan avoided them. However, now that the arrow had attracted its attention, Leviathan sees Sheol as its main target. Realizing the danger was approaching, Heel ordered everyone to charge the next arrow, while he would stop Leviathan with golems, and asked Rhianna to prepare the next strategy. He summoned golems 10 and 11 with ice magic, and golems 12 and 13 with wind magic. Form a combined attack. Mega Blizzard targets Leviathan, but Leviathan remained undeterred, rushing towards them at full speed. They realize that magic really doesn't work, but they have another plan. Freeze the water around it. Heel thought this would be fine and would paralyze it, but surprisingly, Leviathan broke through the ice and began to accumulate a huge beam of energy. Heel knew the situation was deteriorating, so he immediately summoned Golems 6 and 7 to create a shield at a specific angle to redirect the attack instead of facing it head-on. As Leviathan charges up a powerful beam of energy, it hit the defensive wall. The light collided with the shield the Golem held, accompanied by their magic. They must put all their strength into holding the shield. It emitted powerful shockwaves, shaking the entire area. The shield then begins to tear at the edges as the damage continues to increase. They poured all their strength into it, just barely deflecting the attack, causing a huge explosion under the sea. They were just out of danger, but Leviathan began to approach them again. Rhianna informed Elvan that the heavy crossbow was ready again, and Elvan prepared to use it. Heel felt something was wrong. Leviathan continued to charge towards them, confident that it could dodge the arrow even at such a short distance. They shot arrows, but this time they used a different strategy. To make Leviathan not notice the incoming arrow, everyone waits for the results. And then the arrow successfully pierced Leviathan, crashed into its body. Leviathan didn't realize it because Rhianna used concealment magic, making the arrow invisible. Everyone was elated that they had succeeded in hitting the monster, but Elvan reminded them to stay calm, as it was only the first shot. Next, the arrow is attached to a sturdy string made from spider silk and steel wire. Heel orders everyone to hold tight and not let Leviathan escape. He counted from 1 to 5 as the creature was pulled closer, and when it reached the designated area, many golems hidden under the sea reached out, connected with sturdy metal wires, forced the monster from all directions. Leviathan struggled vigorously,
even begin to damage the mechanisms that cannot hold for long.
They informed Heal that he needed to act immediately, and they readied another arrow for the heavy crossbow, this time aiming at the Leviathan's head to destroy it. As Leviathan faced danger, many creatures began to emerge from under its scales, spreading throughout the area, including golems. Heal was horrified to see countless sea stalkers, parasitic monsters attached to giant sea creatures. It turns out they have been lurking under Leviathan's scales all along, posing a significant threat. These parasites broke Golem number 1's arm, and before they could cause further damage, Heal quickly ordered everyone to shoot down the sea stalkers immediately. However, their numbers were too great, and they even began to cling to the defensive walls. They struggled to keep them from climbing, while Leviathan continued to resist strongly. Take down more golems. Heal did not foresee this situation. Even more unexpectedly, the horns on Leviathan's back began to grow larger and more dangerous. They guessed that this could be an even more dangerous attack. Sure enough, the horns separated from Leviathan's body and fell everywhere, like a rain of powerful arrows. Heal quickly summoned another shield and ordered everyone to gather behind him for protection. The falling horns threatened to destroy the entire defensive wall with their enormous power. Thanks to Heal's shield, they barely survived that terrible attack, but just when they thought it was all over, the reality is completely opposite to what they imagined. Leviathan's tail suddenly appeared right in front of them, moving so fast that they had no time to react. The monster's giant tail swept across the area, destroying everything in its path. The impact of Leviathan's tail echoed deep into the cave, where the residents had been evacuated. Those horrifying sounds scared everyone in the cave, hoping that this nightmare would end soon. The children trembled, afraid that they would lose their home again. The mothers reassured their children, telling them not to worry because their master, the island's hero, wouldn't let that happen. Heal will definitely get things back on track. Meanwhile, Leviathan's tail attack destroyed a large area, as if it had never existed. Luckily, Heal was only knocked away by the impact. He stood up, remembering how Golem 6 and 7 had protected him before, helping him survive. He called out to everyone, but only dust covered the area, making him worry they might be in trouble because no one answered. He called out to everyone, but only dust covered the area, making him worried they might be in trouble because no one answered. Meanwhile, the small sea stalkers continued to climb the walls, spreading out around Heal and leaving him with little choice. He knew that the situation would be very serious if the sea stalkers invaded the island, so he tried to stop them with lightning bolts. However, he realized that his magical energy was almost exhausted, and his attacks were much weaker than before. Heal was gradually cornered and urged Shell to run away. At that moment, Rihanna appeared, using her weapon to destroy dozens of sea stalkers in a matter of seconds. Heal felt reassured seeing Rihanna safe, and she confirmed that she would not let anything hurt Heal, whom she revered. He was happy to see her safe, and Rihanna was happy to see him well. At that moment, a series of arrows flew from behind, hitting the sea stalkers. Heal turned around and realized that those arrows came from other people who were working hard to protect him. He felt happy to see them safe, along with the other goblins and golems. Together, they all launched a coordinated attack against the sea stalkers, under Princess Rihanna's command, destroying as many as possible. Elvan apologizes to Heal for being late, but Heal is just glad that they are all safe. However, Leviathan began a frenzied attack, and even larger golems could not withstand a single attack from it. The monster menaces menacingly, making everyone well aware of the impending danger. Heal knew there was no other choice. He ordered everyone to prepare for the final strategy. Rihanna told Heal that this was too dangerous, but he knew it had to be done, even though the chances of success were slim. This strategy has a higher chance of defeating Leviathan, especially when the monster has moved too close to shore. Worried about him, Rihanna took Heal's hand and transferred all of her remaining magical energy to him, ensuring that he would have enough power to defeat Leviathan. Heal accepts responsibility and prepares to act alone. As the Leviathan prepared to attack again, he struck its mouth before it could gather magic for the attack. Heal intentionally attracted Leviathan's attention, provoke it to chase you, destroying everything in his path, including land and buildings. At that time, Heal was riding on Terran's back, urging her to run as fast as possible to the designated point in the plan. He found himself in a position where no one could assist him. He must face the giant monster himself. Elvan scanned his surroundings and realized that he could still do something to help Heal. He rushed to the heavy catapult and began pulling the rope. Varus warns that the catapult's spinning mechanism is broken, so they can't pull the rope back anymore. But Elvin, with the pride of a great warrior, could not sit still while Heal was risking his life. He is determined to do everything he can to help his friend in this final battle.
Elvin pulled the rope with all his strength, and Mappa joined him to support him.
Meanwhile, Leviathan curled its giant body around Heal's position, aiming to encircle him. At that moment, a barrage of cannonballs from the orc ship hit the Leviathan, aiming for its knees. Just then, a mithril arrow hit Leviathan in the eye. It was a perfect coordination between Elvin and Mappa. Once the path ahead was cleared, Heal quickly moved to the location where he had set up the trap. According to the plan, he raised his hand as a signal to Riel, who could observe everything with divine eyesight. Receiving the signal, Riel aimed at the rock ahead and used his strength to break it, creating a chain reaction in the cave. As a result, Leviathan fell into a large hole under the excavated area. This hole is large enough to contain Leviathan's giant body. This is Heal's backup plan, in case the stone-throwing machine doesn't have enough power to destroy the monster. He destroyed the stone pillars to make Leviathan fall. Now comes the most important part of the plan. Heal must face Leviathan directly. He pulled out his mithril hammer. Heal started swinging hundreds of stones around. At that moment, the mark on his body asked if he wanted to use his power, and Heal realized he would rely on the increased power from mining to destroy Leviathan. Leviathan released another beam of magical energy, but Heal quickly dodged. Then he charged straight at Leviathan. He used the power of the Mountain King to smash the monster. The mark on his body understood the command, and Heal swung the hammer with all the strength of the Mountain King. The head of the mithril hammer turns into divine metal that can kill the gods. The mark on Heal's body glowed brighter than ever. In just a blink of an eye, everyone on the ground witnessed a dazzling light spreading from deep underground. They saw light coming from underground, caused by the strike of Heal's hammer directly on Leviathan's head, shattering it into pieces. This blow dealt a fatal blow to the legendary monster, and the force of the impact reverberated throughout Leviathan's massive body. The force of the blow was enough to crack Leviathan's entire form. This is how Heal, the Mountain King, defeated the legendary monster. Heal then grabbed the rope to return to the ground. However, in his dying moments, Leviathan let out one final scream, which echoed throughout the cave and up to the surface. The roar shook the surrounding rocks, causing the people holding the rope to lose their balance and causing Heal to fall. Blood flowed from his mouth due to the terrible pressure of the sound. Just then, Taran quickly caught the rope and saved him again. She quickly pulled him up as the whole cave began to collapse. Rena jumped down to save Heal. She grabbed another rope from Taran and grabbed Heal in midair, telling him to hold on tight so they could escape danger. However, Heal was worried that she wouldn't get out in time if she kept trying to hold him. But Rihanna firmly refused, advising him not to give up, promising that they would survive together. As they continued to struggle to escape the cave, large rocks began to fall. Suddenly, a giant black shadow appeared in front of them, surprising Rihanna. However, the creature does not attack. Instead, it captured them both and took them out of the cave. They wondered who this creature was and why he saved them. On the way out, they encountered a large rock blocking it. The creature comforted them not to worry and quickly broke the rock, opening the way for them. In the end, all three people escaped the cave safely. Heal asked who this creature was, and it appeared surprised to learn that humans had defeated Leviathan. Turns out they were kobolds, a species looking for their prince. They noticed a peculiar smell and asked if a young kobold had washed up on the island in a box. Elvin rushed to check if Heal was safe and immediately recognized the kobolds. He seemed very familiar with them, and they also recognized Elvin and Varys, calling them by their old names. They know the story of their tribe being driven from their homeland. Two kobolds, named Ash and Kayun, introduced themselves as soldiers assigned to protect Riel. Varys had known this before, and their appearance confirmed the truth. This means they must have heard Alhemana's message, and the child is definitely here.